heart attack, fast fatal heart impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact, don't ask, grab reactions, jacked, attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet now, get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and I'm going to be putting out another part to this. My original plan was to put out a part to Black Widow, but I am currently lost in the timeline, so I am going to have to go over a few parts of that tomorrow. Now, so I do not get confused with this timeline. The sports festival happened after Midoriya got on the boat, and he's been in the hospital now for about 2 weeks. So, I want to say that would mean this would be roughly around 2 weeks after Ida encountered Stain. Shit. What happened with Ida and Stain? I want to say that Todoroki would have still probably fought and actually go with Ida. Or would Ida die? 50-50 chance, but let's just say Ida dies. Or at the very least, he's too late to try and help the pro, and he has to run off. Actually, I'll leave that up to you guys. Should Ida live or should he die? Anyways, with that being said, now we will begin with Izuku Midoriya. They were speeding away in a car, and Midoriya, he just got bitten by a lichen. Now, with that being said, Midoriya, he is currently driving with this woman to a coven, and she is trying to ask Midoriya questions. Why are the lichens after him? What would they want with a simple human? And Midoriya has to basically try and explain it to Celine, who at the moment doesn't really believe him, let alone try to even care. She simply just believes that Midoriya himself might be a lichen, or possibly even another vampire. However, there's the fact that he was in a hospital and he was out during the day. Or is this possibly another one of those cases of mistaken identity? They have had those before. And this is possibly just a quirk. Damn it. Even after 1,000 years of dealing with all this shit, nothing really has changed. Now, with Celine having that thought, she does begin to ask Midoriya about his own quirk, trying to understand it better. And Midoriya does go on to explain that he is quirkless, as he does actually begin to look at his arms. Now, as he's doing so, he's trying to understand. He was bitten, so from what he knows, he should have turned. And Midoriya does try and ask a question. Why does the, thing turn? Why do those werewolves, Celine correcting him saying lichens. Lichens turn. How do they turn? Her just explained to Midoriya. Whenever a lichen is bitten, on the full moon, that is whenever they have their first transformation. It does not matter when. However, your transformation is complete. From then on, you have your own violent instincts and urges. And most men succumb to them. Along with that, there's the fact that you might die within an hour of being bitten. That fact shocking Midoriya. Okay, so he is going to die. Duly noted. Midoriya beginning to talk about his mother, and going on to state that the next full moon, he believes, will not be for another, 2 to 3 days? Now, eventually they do arrive at the coven, and Midoriya, he is taken in. Celine knocks him out in the car, and takes him to a room, where he is going to be given time to at least pass out and recover. They're going to try to, roughly, get one of their outsiders to look at him, and hopefully wipe his memory of all of this. However, they want to find out what they're after. The Lycans are a bit more organized, and for right now, it's very curious. Now, with that being said, Celine does actually go on talking about it. Meanwhile, you do have a particular blonde. The girl, she doesn't know Celine very well, but she does go snooping around. She heard that there was a human here, and that he was bleeding. So, she wants to look at his own memories and see things through his eyes for a second. Humans, they're particular creatures, and directly feeding on one is somewhat forbidden. But if he's already injured and, well, hurt, then if they've already wiped him down, she might be able to drain some blood out of the rag. She doesn't really care, as long as she can get what she wants. Now, as she does actually walk in, Midoriya, who is still passed out, is simply just trying to recover. Now, the girl then does at least quickly notice him. His face. He was the guy who survived that boat accident. This is the one they're after? Michael, if I'm correct. Now, eventually, Midoriya does awaken, and there he does see a, blonde girl, who, as you all might have guessed, is Himiko Toga. Now, with that, Midoriya is kind of surprised, and somewhat shocked. As soon as he did actually somewhat jump backwards, she herself tried to at least calm him down, trying to talk with him and say that she was not going to hurt him. Where the hell am I? Hey, take it easy. I don't know what happened to you, but you're pretty messed up. Are you okay? Her trying to reach her hand out for a cut on his arm. Midoriya quickly just grabs her by her wrist, tells her not to do that. And she does actually demonstrate her stronger, her overwhelming strength basically, being able to immediately grab him by his arm and someone begin to turn it. This is actually beginning to hurt Midoriya. And he does actually somewhat try and back away, or at least pull away. As soon as he does try and do that, Toga does actually try and grab him, and at least try and restrain him. Whenever she does actually grab onto his shirt, and basically get on top of him, she's able to pull it to the side, and see a cut. Or, not a cut, really. The cut that's on the werewolf guy. She's able to see the wound on his shoulder. That is a bite mark, and those look like dog teeth. Her jumping backwards, and hissing, showing her fangs. Now, Midoriya just says one simple thing. Vampire, stay the hell away from me. Now, As Midoriya does say that, he immediately looks around the room, goes for a knife, and goes to back away towards the window. As soon as he does that, this is whenever let's cut over to Celine. She already has begun to talk with a lot of people. Lycans are organized and they're after a human. And this particular human is interesting. They seem to be special from what they know. And that the Lycans are tracking him. Now, it is a bit curious as to why the Lycans are doing so. However, one particular person, I cannot remember his name, sadly, they are a bit more curious to meet and talk with Midoriya. And they do actually try and convince Celine to allow him in, see the boy, and talk with him. Now, Celine, yeah, she's supposed to marry this guy. And the guy's an asshole. Simply just informing him that they need to awaken Victor. And see what is going to happen. They need to find out what is going on. Now, this is still a bit weird. They've already taken on one human that they were supposed to have killed. And if they're going to take on another one, then they should at least know who they are dealing with. Now, with that being said, you do have Toga, who has already run into the room and tried to explain some things. Her trying to explain that the guy jumped out of the window and is currently running off. Now, everyone interrupts her, trying to talk with her and understand what she is talking about. And she does go on explaining that the human was bitten. He is a Lycan. And Celine, she's actually sort of surprised. Now, she then does go after Michael. Now, with that being said, Toga does actually ask questions about it, while Celine is walking towards the car. As soon as she's out there, Celine does go to drive off, and Toga herself does actually want to try and help, or at least do anything. They have a few hours before sunrise, and their best bet is what this guy might be doing. Now, Celine, she can somewhat understand the situation. The young boy from their conversation in the car talked about going to go get his mother. So that is what he is doing. He is going to go out in a public place. And the fact that he's survived already this long is sort of bad. If the boy goes over that 1 hour limit, then that means that he is definitely going to turn. And sadly, she will have to put him down. Now, with that being said, Celine takes off. And Toga, she actually does take a bike. She really isn't allowed to leave the mansion, but with the fact that a Lycan is on the loose, and that during the full moon they turn, a lot of people might die, or turn to Lycans themselves. And there might be an incident. So, they don't really pay attention to her. Now, she will be reprimanded and basically scolded and put in trouble, or put back in line when she does get back, but trying to send resources to stop her would just be a waste. If they can catch the human, they can catch the human. Now, with that being said, Midoriya does eventually find a car, and at least steal it. He takes the person's car and goes to drive into the city. As soon as he does so, he is on his way. And then there is the Lycans. Back over with them, they have already gone through what they've done. They've tested Midoriya's blood. He is the descendant of Corvinus. So, he is the one they need to kill. And learning about it will be good. It will be great. Now, with that being said, you also do have the man who wanted to talk with Midoriya. He snuck out the back exit and is currently working on going to find him. Getting into contact with his Lycan allies and trying to find the boy, informing them that he is heading into the city and most likely is going after his own mother, to keep an eye on her and make sure that they can catch him. Now, a lot of time does pass. Midoriya is eventually caught with a car, arrested, and somewhat taken. Meanwhile, Celine, her and Toga are still looking. After finding the car, they do begin to at least still head towards the station. With them both speeding down the streets late at night, and the Lycans at least trying to follow speed limits, let's say, since they're undercover as cops, they eventually are caught up to and found. Meanwhile, more Lycans are on the way. They've already caught the Corvinus. And getting him where they need to take him will be easy. Now, with that being said, they do basically get into somewhat of a struggle. And after some time, let's just say, Izuku is at least in the daylight. He was already taken in and put into the trap that the Lycans have. Selena and Toga did have to pull over and basically run into a nearby building, both of them running into a safe house and having to hide. Now, while that is happening, they are getting some research done as to who the woman is. As they do at least do this, they are going back and forth, researching it on the computers they have there and getting information and files sent over from their own hacker. Learning that the woman's name is Inko Midoriya, and that her son, they believe it to be Izuku Midoriya. Now, with that being said, they also do begin to look into his father, Hasashi, a quirkless man. However, that's just it. Hasashi Midoriya, he has gone under previous aliases, and it does begin to show more of them. And there are at least some known records, a paper trail. Throughout the day, they uncover a lot about this boy, and do at least begin to understand it better. Whatever is going on, all these names they're seeing, all these names they're hearing, they've at least heard some of them thrown out. Some of the people in the Coven have heard that Lycans are tracking a man by that name, and others have heard that vampires are tracking a man with that name. It is all sort of a inconvenience. Along with that, there's the fact that one of these names, Selena, has heard mentioned by, or at least has heard someone mention of. Now, there is eventually the paper trail, and the line it leads up to. Midoriya's father Hasashi, his mother, her father, his grandfather, so on and so forth. And then there is the paper trail, trying to trace the family back to its original descendants. With all the name changes and switches, it's somewhat surprising that they're able to keep track of it. And piecing it together is harder, until they begin to dive into some forbidden history. Now, they begin to look into vampire history, and they are somewhat breaking rules doing so. However, that's just it. Whenever they began to break the rules, they stopped looking. So, whoever they are looking into, this boy, he is connected to Corvinus. Somehow, he is connected to the father of us all. Now, with that being said, I'm going to leave this what if off of here. And I am sorry for that. If this what if was somewhat weird or jumped around a lot, my brain is fried. I've been dealing with a lot of asthma today, and it's actually been very annoying. So, I'm just going to take the rest of the night off. And I hope you guys do understand. And have an amazing night.